and welcome to the final part, third part of Module 2. We have some things to finish up there. Lots of exciting things happening with queries. We're doing several complicated queries. So although there aren't very many left, they are a little more complicated, and we're not going to fly over them too fast because we want to have you understand what's going on here. So going back to around page AC, it's about AC 104, I think. We haven't got all the queries. Remember, I can collapse or expand that navigator, and we got to AC manager account query M02Q09. There's a few left. Make sure I find the right page here. We did the calculated field, total amount paid. Which one was that? The number for that one was, I gotta find where they put in a different place each time as we save them. Yeah, we're gonna finish M02Q10, which is, it looks like the manager account query, very similar to the manager account query, and we're just changing a few things here. So we're looking at, I'm going to close this manager account query. We're done with that. I'm going to right click, close that. And I'm not saving changes because I didn't change anything important. And I might as well start one from scratch just to give us practice. Field list from the account table. So create, query design. When they say get a field list from the account table, that means I want to show the table account. Double click and close. And the field list that they want is account number, double click, account name, amount paid, double click, and current due. And now we're going to create a special formula right there. And they say there's a zoom there. I can zoom in on that. Here's the formula I want to put there. I'm going to put total amount colon. Total amount colon, it is telling Access the title for this column is going to be total amount. Now what comes after the colon is special square brackets telling Access this is what you're going to get information from, amount paid. And you better have it spelled exactly right or it will say, I don't know what this number is. No, it does not. And actually, I like the space. It makes it easier to read. And I plus, space or not, I don't think it matters, current due. This is basically like very similar to how we did it in Excel, add numbers from two other places together. In this case, instead of referring to a cell like in Excel, we're referring to the column where there's going to be a number in that column. The column amount paid plus what's in the column current due. When I click OK, it will, since I did a zoom, it puts that right there. I could have just typed it right here, but it's a little easier to read if I zoom in on it. But I can always stretch that column out so I can see what I had typed. I could just as well have typed it there. Now, here is where we see Access do the work for us. Go to Datasheet View to view this, and I see over in that column, see total amount is listed above, and it's actually adding together the amount paid plus current due for me. It's doing the math because I told it the formula here is these two other columns added together. So this is what they call a calculated field. That I've told Access in the design part, here's what I want it to calculate for me in that column. The times I use it is when I'm creating the database report that generates all the pictures for our students each semester. That is an actual Access database with your names and cities and states where you're from with a picture And I do a little fancier design of the actual report to show your picture. And instead of showing your first name and last name, I have a field called full name is your first and last name put together with a space between them. And so that's where I use it the most. And now we can change they do a change of the caption on this. If I want to show the caption on a particular field, like here, we have amount paid. Click on the amount paid column, and now I can see the properties page in there. I'm going to ShowHide the properties sheet for that. And I could put a caption there. Instead of the words amount paid, I can just have the single word paid. Just like I control the caption in the tables, I can control the caption at the top of a column. Remember how I get there again? I go to the column I want to change the caption of, go to the ShowHide section, turn on the property sheet, and change the caption to paid. I won't see the effect of that until I run the query, and let's see the effect of it. See the caption now for that column, instead of amount paid, is just the word paid. So little details we're learning in the design, little by little, just getting slightly familiar with what's available to us in Access. There's a ton more, and we're going to do a little bit more. Yes?
So is there a way to add like a column between because I accidentally deleted like account name?
Oh yeah, let me pretend I did that. Pretend I accidentally deleted account name. I'm going to delete it. Cut that. And suppose I need to add it. Well, I just come up here and I go back and add it back in. It shows up over here, but I can click on that little gray bar. Click once, it's all selected, and then click and drag it, and I can drag it back to the left. You can always reorder these columns. Select it by clicking that little narrow gray bar and move it left and right. You can change the order of things. Oh, and I put account name in the wrong place. I can put it there. Account number, name, amount paid, current due. And now this one, since we started from scratch, I can do Control S, and I'm going to save it as M02Q10. So Control S to save it, M02Q10, and I'm going to put AC105 as the page that I completed it on, and what is this? A calculated field. And I called it AC105 calculated field. Yeah.
So is it saving to our OneDrive or just to this computer?
It's saving into wherever your database is residing. Anytime we make these objects, they are all part of that database file. So all we'll see is our database. Wherever the database is, that's where these are going. So they're inside the database. They're objects inside the database. So this navigator here is the inside of Access navigator of its objects. The actual file of this database is to Windows just one file. And to see where it is, a quick way to find out where your file is, if you do a save as, it starts to save where you currently are. So if you do a save as, it'll show you, oh, I happen to be, oh, actually it's not showing me where my database is because I know I'm saving this to my OneDrive. I was hoping it would show me the current location. I guess to know where it is, I can go to File, Properties, and that'll show me where the file is. There it shows me where it is in the properties. In the Backstage view, under File, View and Edit Database Properties, under General, it will show me where it's actually located. So the location I can always view. If I'm not sure where in the world is this database, where did I save it? You can, while it's open, you can see where it's being saved. Now remember, you can always do Save Database As to put it in a place where you know for sure where it is. All right, so that's M02Q10, and we have a couple more to do before we're done with this one. We're going to start another new query. Completely from scratch. I'm going to collapse my navigator. I'm going to create query design. Again, with the account table, all we care about for this one is the amount paid. So account table, close, and we're going to do some calculations on amount paid. We don't even care what account names they are. We just want to do some statistics about all the amount paids. And we're going to let Access do the work for us. That's done by going over to the ShowHide part and click on totals. What this means is I'm going to show or hide the totals in the column. Clicking it once turns on this little total line right here. If I turn it off again, that line goes away. So this is a toggle button. Think of this as toggling totals on and off. And when I turn it on, I see this little thing show up, the total, and the initial thing it'll say is group by. We're going to change that group by to say something else. We're going to go click on that line that has group by in it right now and do the selection down. We're going to change that to sum instead of group by. And now we let Access do the rest of the work. We go to Datasheet View, and look at that. Access has added all my amount paids together for me. So we're letting Access actually calculate statistics for us on that field. And I can come and change it from sum to average and run it again. Now I see the average amount paid of all my accounts. So Access is doing some business data analysis for us. And remember, this Access database can be millions of records. And I can be letting Access do the work, calculating information such as statistical average, and there's a variety of other things it can calculate. How many actually are listed. The minimum, I think, would be 0. Yep, the minimum 0. So I can adjust whatever I'm doing the statistics on, but we're going to leave it at average. But we're not yet done. We're going to add some criteria to this. We want to average it for a specific manager now. So in order to average it for a specific account manager, I have to add the account manager to my list. So I'm going to double click account manager. And now I want it to only give me the average of account manager number 31. So it's a little goofy. You think all I would have to do is type a 31 here. Let's see what happens if I just type a 31 there. It looks like it actually may work. In the book, they have us change this to a where, and it looks to me like it makes no difference. Whether or not I change that to where or not, it gives me, let's see, that's 18, 511. Let's change it back to group by, and I think I got the same number. Yeah. So just by putting in the criteria 31, that now will just give me the average amount paid for all the accounts for group, for account manager number 31. So this is my statistics with a criteria. And this is one where we're saving as M02Q11. Yep. Oh, doesn't show your manager? Yeah, you don't need to see that. I would show that box so then I know what manager I'm doing the average for. Yeah. Yep. This is on page AC107. So I'm going to save this. M02Q11 AC107, and I'll call it stats. Yeah, statistics. And criteria. Or average account for manager 31, more specific. So just getting a little bit more exploration of the different things I can do. We're not doing everything like what parameters is about or all these other types of queries, We're just learning a little bit of the capabilities. So that one's done, and I can now go down to one more query. Suppose I want to look at this in a different way. I want to look at my account manager, all my account managers, and the average amount paid. To do that, all I need to do is take away that criteria and run, and let's see what I get. The average amount paid for each account manager. Just by taking away that criteria, but still having the account manager column in there. Now in the book they have the columns reversed, so let's go ahead and just click on that column once in the little gray bar and drag that to the left so it's appearing first. It comes out the same. I have my account manager numbers and the average of amount paid of all their accounts. So by having the totals in there, that's what causes this average to show up, and it groups them together.
So it has to be on group by?
Yeah, just leave it on the default group by and you're good. Let's see what happens if I put it on where and there's nothing down below. What happens? Ah, look at that. Yeah, we don't want that. So we change that back to a group by. Now it will group it by that. And it looks like for some reason by default it turns it off in the show. So I want to see it because I want to know whose average I'm getting when I view it. So some of those things Access it does to you. Let's see if I do that again. Yeah, when I change that, see how it turns off the checkbox? It's kind of irritating. But I can always turn it back on because I do want to see it in the results. So I'm grouping my average amount paid by the account manager. And now I can do this. I can save this one. But remember, this is a save as, not a control S, because I don't want to wipe out my previous one. So I'll make sure we do a save as on this one. Save object as. And I'm going to call this one M02Q12. And what is this? This is statistics for all managers. Managers. And that's AC108. So very similar to that first one, but just taking away the criteria, leaving the group by, so I get the averages grouped by each account manager. And I can always come back and run it. Are you getting this kind of result when you run it?
Oh, I got it.
Okay. All right, so that one's done. M02Q12, and I close that one. Now comes a more interesting one. This is probably the most complex thing you're going to do this entire course. Yep.
I saved it, but it doesn't show on my side.
Check the name that you gave it. You may have typed the wrong character there, and then it's sorting them alphabetically. So if you typed in something wrong, you may have put it in a different order. But anyway, we're going to start a new one. This time we're going back to use the wizard, the wonderful wizard of Access. We're off to see the wizard. What we're going to do is do a crosstab query. And let's just walk through this. And I think just doing it, you'll get it seems to make sense, but you first have to do it first. The word crosstab, what does that mean? Let's just make one and see what it is. So I'm doing create. And this time I am using the wizard. And there it gives me the choice, the crosstab query wizard. And it sort of explains it as you go. Displays data in a compact spreadsheet-like format. All right. Let's see what this is. Ignore that because I'm saving it on my OneDrive. Now, I can choose what table to analyze information from. The account table is a table that has my most useful information. So I'm going to use that table. So I click Next. It explains to you that it's going to be giving you headings across the row, or titles across the row, rows and headings of each columns, and a total about those related fields. Well, let's see what fields are meaningful to us. We're going to look at, the fields we're going to look at are the state that they're in. State is going to be my row heading. So we're deciding what's going to go here on the left in the headings for each row. So that will be the state. And it shows you, oh, you'll have different states listed here. And now let's figure out what are we going to compare state by state. So that's where I go to the next screen. So on the first screen, we're choosing what field to compare in this crosstab. In this next page, now we decide what field is most meaningful up here to compare state by state. It's either amount paid or current due. That will give us state by state comparison. And let's see what they want in this one. We're doing account manager number. Sorry. We're going to be actually calculating something in the total part. That's right. So state by account manager. Now what's going to go in the total part is a sum of the current due. We're going to do the sum of the current due. So this is doing a lot of work for us. It's doing a comparison state by state. Each account manager's the amount due in that particular state. So we're doing business analytics using a easily available program in Office. Now you pay people big dollars to do this for businesses where you can actually use Access to do it. Question? Okay, so we started a new Crosstab Query, and that was way back at the start. We said Crosstab Query, and then we say for the row headings we're choosing, well, for the tables information we're using account. Are you that far? Okay, and then for the row headings we're using state. So when you come to this page that talks about row headings, they should have highlighted row headings to make this clear. We're doing row headings in this one, choosing state. The next one, we're doing account managers. Yes. You starting over, Crosstab Query. You're choosing the account table, state for the row headings, account manager number for the column headings.
I have something else that's coming up. She said they're done.
It's state, not street.
I put state.
And you choose account manager number. That's correct. Okay, the next one. Now it is. This is where you want the, you're using the wrong table. Cancel, start over. It's the account table, not the account manager table. It's Crosstab. It's the account table. Now you're going to be correct. So it's state. And then next page, the account manager number. And now, oh, back. And now, amount paid summation. There you go. Actually, it's a current due, not amount paid. It's current due. So make sure it's current due that we're doing the sum of right here. So it's current due summation. Now think about what's happening here. We're comparing state by state for each account manager the sum of the current due amounts. That's a lot of statistical work that an accountant would be paid to do, where you can do this in Access. And remember, you may have comparison over millions of pieces of data, yet Access can summarize that data if all you know how to do is use a tool like this. And this is just one example of the business analytics. This is huge out there in the internet for financial analysis of any company. How many of you are in the business program? Think of doing business? Anybody? Well, you could be in the business program and sell you this kind of work to them. You could be an expert at this and actually make big money. I'm telling you, there's a father of one of our alumnus. He came in and he talked about traveling the world and trying the different foods and exotic places in the world. Some mountains of Czechoslovakia, some particular dish that he was going to go to the next week. And I thought, boy, this guy's got to be crazy rich. And I asked him what he does. He goes to companies and says, pay me this much, I'll increase your efficiency by 5%. And how does he do it? He processes their data and looks for these kind of trends in their inventory or in their accounts. And because most people don't have a clue how to do this, he does this and shows them how they can save 5%. And for a big company, 5% is like $5 million. And they pay him 10% of that's not a bad paycheck. So then the results, if I expand these columns out, I'll see then, and for every state and for every account manager, the sum of their current due. Yes? Okay. Excuse me one moment. We'll put you on pause this time. Now I just noticed I gave it the wrong name here. I can always go back and right-click rename it. But remember, I can't rename things unless they're closed first. So I'm just going to look at my numbers just to see what this means now. I'm getting the summation of the current due state by state for each account manager that has accounts in those states. Pretty cool stuff. The wizard did all this for me. And that's our last query for this chapter. Let me just go back and rename that because I gave it the wrong name. I have to close it first. So I'm going to close it, right-click close, saving my changes. And then I'm going to go back to that one. Where's the crosstab? There it is, account crosstab. I'm going to right-click, rename it, and I'm going to give it the name they wanted me, State-Manager Crosstab. State-Manager Crosstab. Anytime if you give any of them the wrong name, you can always come back. As long as they're closed, you can right-click, rename them. If they're open, it says it won't even let you try to. It won't even show you that you can try to rename them. All right. So at this point, this second to last project in Access is complete. Remember what you can do. Anytime you're in a database, you can always do a save as and save it as a backup of your database. Save opted. Where's the backup? There was a backup, database backup. There we go. We can always do a backup. It will timestamp that database and leave us back in our original database. But since we don't need a backup at this point, just make sure that, well, actually, it is say as soon as you close all your tables, it's actually updated the data in there. So you can just close it, and it's ready to upload to eLearn. And since I'm going to be working on this in the next project, after saving it, make sure everything is right. I could close it, make a copy, and then open the new copy, or just do a file, save as, save database as, and I'm going to call this module 3. Once I have this done, that's ready to upload, and I'm going to start on a new one. I'm going to call it Access Module 3, because that's where we begin, and I better make sure I put it in the right place over in my OneDrive section 2. It always wants to put it in my documents instead of my OneDrive where I saved it last time. So I'm saving this now. After I'm done, make sure all my tables are closed and saved. That's ready to upload, but I'm doing a save as to continue then for the next chapter.
When you save the database as something else, is the other one still, did it change the name of it?
No, it closed that one, made a new one. So it essentially made a copy of your database that you had. Yeah. So this is the same as closing it, making a copy, renaming the new one. to just do a save as, you're making a, you're giving where you're starting with when you do a save as. This is the beginning of that new database. So it's like you're making a copy when you do a save as.
Okay, so after we turn it in, we go back and open it again.
Well, you don't have to, you can open it, or at that point, if it's closed, you could make a copy of the file. You could right-click copy the file, or you could just do like I just did. Just open it, do a save as, and it's the same as you made a copy. When you do a save as, if you give it a new name, you've made a copy. Just pay attention to where you've put it, because the save as wants to put it back in your documents folder, and if you're in your OneDrive, you want it in your OneDrive, you have to browse back over to your OneDrive, and that's what I did. So if you do a save as, it may want to put it somewhere where than you did. Make sure when you do a save as to browse to exactly the place where you want it to be, or you can easily lose track of your files this way. That's why I'm using my OneDrive, partly to test that the OneDrive functions well, and to keep track of all my things from other computers. I don't have to say, oh, what computer was I on when I worked on this? Save it to your OneDrive. But just remember, your OneDrive, be sure to log out of your OneDrive, or other people are doing save as to your OneDrive and not knowing it, or wiping out your files in your OneDrive and they don't know it. Remember, up there it shows, at the top, it shows who you're logged in as to the OneDrive.
So I'm logged in to access, but like I tried to save it and I can't find, like I can't figure out how to save it to OneDrive.
3. And now here, with the next one here in Module 3, what we're going to be doing is where you will most likely, if you do come across access in a job, this is the kind of thing you'll be given. You'll be given a database to work on, and now that you've had a little bit of experience here in this course, you'll be familiar with, okay, somebody made a database for me, I sort of remember what happened, and you can hold tables and do queries and things. But what we're going to do here is edit the data in the accounts table. And we know how to open the accounts table in datasheet mode, but it's kind of scary looking. It's just a spreadsheet-like, not terribly friendly. So we're going to make a form that makes it half friendly. We're going to use the 3-click, actually it's a 4-click method here. Don't wear out your fingers. We're going to click on the account table. We're going to click Create. And instead of these two forms, we're going to go to the More form, little guy right here, and we're going to choose Split Form. Half friendly, half unfriendly form. Split form of the account table. And click once, and there we have a friendly form at the top, the less friendly but very informative datasheet view at the bottom, and I can adjust that just like I could do in datasheet view. And I can now traverse through the information in my table with my little navigator here, or I can just click on a row like I've been doing with the datasheet view. So a combination of both worlds, the form view at the top, split halfway, and the datasheet view at the bottom. So as I browse through the data, I see the row being highlighted down in the datasheet view of what row I'm on. And let's go back to the first row. I can either click the little go to the beginning navigator, or just go click on any row and it'll navigate to that one in both frames. That's the idea of the split form. And so they want us to do what you would do with a database that's been around for a while. We're simply updating the information in here. This is our database maintenance chapter. We're not doing a lot of new designs or new queries. We're maintaining our database as we browse through it. So we're navigating through it, record by record, and we're going to split this. We're going to save this now just by doing a Control S, and we're going to call that account split form. Now the only thing I did after making it was I just adjusted my column widths just to try to get it fit as much as I could and make efficient use of the area. And that's why when I change it, I'm saving those changes to design. I can edit the data, but first I have to go to Form View. By default, it puts me in Layout View. To actually edit the data in Form View, I click on Form View, and now notice I can actually change the data. What we want to do is go to the very end and add a new record. By going to this little navigation, the arrow to the yellow star, New Blank Record, takes me to the end of my table, and I can enter data down here or up here in the split view, the Form View, and I'm going to do it in Form View. Adding a new record for SL326 is our account number. And it's following the rules that we've established when we defined what our fields are. And our account name is South Library Consortium. Tabbing goes to my next field, 862 Maple Street. Wells, Indiana. Postal code 46007. And remember the rules, it only takes 5 characters. If I try to type more, it won't let me. Amount paid has to be a number, so if I type something that's not a number, it will say, sorry, you have to type something that's numeric. Those are the rules I established so I don't have corrupt data in my database. We need purity in our databases. And here, this is something that, because we haven't set this database up correctly yet, I could type any old 2-digit number there, and it's not going to complain that that account manager doesn't exist. Now that's a problem we're going to fix later on. But for now, we're putting in an existing account manager, number 58, does exist. So we've just used the Form View to update our tables, adding a new record. I could just as well have entered it at the bottom of the table like we did before, but this is a friendlier way that we would, very likely, I would use one or the other. I myself rarely use a split form because I either use one or the other. And I design forms like if I have a picture of my account or their logo, I'll have that show up as I browse through. But knowing how split forms work gives you a little bit more experience. Yes? Having trouble making the form, or are you? Oh, remember, you have to go to Form View to be able to enter stuff in. It puts you in this method, in this mode, just to confuse you. This is a Microsoft thing. For some reason, after creating the form, they put you in a place where you can edit it but not change numbers. Remember, click on Form View here. Now you can edit the values. The Form View lets you actually make changes. Are you sure you're in Form View?
Yeah.
All right. I thought that's what the problem was.
Well, let me enter it, and then as soon as I click right to the next one,
Well, let us browse back some things. Update our accounts, update without, and you edit. Well, that's a very informative method. Now, the first thing to try when you get these crazy messages, do Control-C. Right? Let's do that. Now, what's going on with that?
well, it's just good.
Like it made a crazy split. Well, here's what we do. Since we create point variables, let's just call that. Now let's just create it again. Create. And go to the end of the record. SL. And we will stop there. So you can dream about all the wonderful things you can do in Access while you're eating your turkey dinner. Yeah, you can go ahead and save that one. We save it as account split form. Yeah, I think it was Wells. Yeah. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Yeah. You can remember you can always, just like any other record, you can always browse through. There's a Control F to find and replace or just search for different things. And there's fairly friendly ways of searching through your data. Just giving you now in the maintenance side what we can do to modify our database. So we'll stop